Hi, and thanks for joining me for today's live lecture. I'm Kelly Korzan, lead edit instructor here at the VJ, and today we're going to take a look at the top mobile shooting and editing apps. There are a lot of them out there, but we've compiled what we think are the best ones, and so we're going to go through each one and talk about the strengths and weaknesses and what you might use them for. As smartphones get faster and faster, these chips are amazing. They're adding new features almost every few months. So if you have visited or tried one of these apps before, it's worth a revisit because they're updating them all the time. So if you like one of the apps, just know that we have full courses on every single one of these we're going to go over in our mobile section of this site. Also, if you have any questions during the lecture, Brett is standing by to answer them. And if you for some reason don't get your question answered during the live lecture, please feel free to reach out to us at contact@thevj.com with your question, and we'll be sure to get back to you. With basically what is the only mobile shooting app game in town, and that's Filmic Pro. This thing, even 5 years ago, was pretty impressive, and now it's actually amazing, I think. So we're going to take a look at that first, what it can do, and let's get going. So let's take a look here. So here, I hope you can see it there, but I can go over them. So these are some of the things that Filmic Pro can do, and you can see at the top we're going to talk about also which systems these work on. This works on both iOS and Android, and basically it's an app that replaces your built-in camera app on your smartphone. So you have variable resolutions and aspect ratios, you have manual controls for temperature, tint, ISO, shutter speed, exposure, focus, 4K resolution and up to 100 megabytes per second, high-speed frame rates going all the way up to 240 frames per second, audio metering, gain control, clip favoriting, slow and fast motion effects options, live analytics. Now the live analytics is new, and in fact next week on our site we're going to be posting our brand new updated Filmic Pro course. So, and it will include some of these things, these new features, but live analytics is a newer one, and that includes zebra stripes, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, what that does, clipping, color and focus peaking. So we have variable speed, pull focus, and targeted zoom. All sounds very fancy, but pretty straightforward. It also supports external microphones, which is great because, as you know, audio is just as important as video. And you can also, it supports third-party 35mm adapters if you choose to add that to your smartphone. So aspect ratio framing guide overlay, so that gives you that, that thirds guide that really helps you with your composition. So let's get into it, get into what this can do. So here we have, I'm going to take you through this just to give you a little visual as we talk about this. So you see those live analytics at the top I was just talking about. These are newer. So they do all kinds of things, and we're going to go over them in a minute, but these are the live analytics. So these are, while you're shooting, you're able to get some feedback on things like where your focus is peaking, areas of high exposure or low exposure. So we're going to take a look. You also, if you're not familiar with Filmic Pro, these little guys in the middle here are these focus and exposure reticles, they're called. So the circle is an exposure reticle, and as you move that around, the exposure changes. And when you tap it, it turns red and locks. And then we've got the focus, and here we've got this guy hanging off a cliff here, rock climbing rather, and we've got the focus on him. And again, once you get it focused, you tap it, and it goes from white to red, and that locks it in, which is great. There's also a zoom rocker. This is a newer feature, which allows you to zoom in just like a regular video camera. So we've got the imaging panel down here, which allows you to adjust your white balance, your color behavior, and a really cool white balance thing that I can't wait to show you. And we've got some manual controls down here that this tapping on this allows you to, let's see, get you down here. Tapping on this allows you to show and hide your manual controls. And then you can show or hide your live analytics there at the top, so you don't have to use them. And of course, this is your counter for how long you're going. You've got your audio meters, so you can monitor them while you're shooting. And you've got a settings menu, you've got a library where you can play your clips back, and finally the record button's down here. But if we move on here, we can take a closer look at some of these manual controls, which are really impressive. So some of these, if you see an asterisk behind them, it means it's only usable on what would be the A8 chip in a phone, so that would be the iPhone 6 and later, and Samsung A8 and later. All the rest works on the earlier versions, not way early, but some of these specialty ones that they've just added only work on the A8 chip or later. So again, here on the side we've got pull-to-point slider control. And so your focus zoom mode selector, you can switch between the right arc slider and the zoom mode. So those are some other really neat things, but let's look at some of these live analytics, because this is where, to me, it really shines. And actually, this is the only mobile shooting app we're including in this live lecture, because for now at least, Filmic Pro is the best game in town. There's something called zebra stripes, and if you tap on this far left one here, this one, the overlay shows you striped areas where of overexposure, and so blue backward stripes indicate underexposure, and I believe I think just the stripes are overexposure, and excuse me, blue backward stripes are underexposure. So those will be just live analytics as you're shooting, so you can tell what you're doing before you start recording. And we can also look at clipping. Clipping's really important, because this is an instance where there's actual data loss in your image. So if something's too bright, in other words, almost completely white, there's no data in that white. Or if it's underexposed to pure black, there's no information in there either. And these, if you turn this live analytic on, this second one up here, it will show you which areas have no data coming in. And I believe that blue is underexposed, and red means it's overexposed. But you want to pay attention to those, because that means no data is actually being recorded in those areas. Then you've got this wonderful sort of false color option, and that's the third one over here. And this is a complete overview of what your image is doing. So you can see green is good. Green always means go, it's good. So any area that's green, you're great. So much like the clipping and zebra stripes we just talked about, areas of red are overexposure, so you can see in the back there those clouds are overexposed, and blue is underexposed. So that's great to keep on. And then finally we have focus peaking, which is also awesome, because that's the FP option over here. And that shows you the green outlines there. Light blue is the area of focus, And green is the target for critical focus. So we can see that our woman on the horse here is green is surrounding her, so we know she's at a distance, and sometimes it's hard to tell on your smartphone screen what is and isn't in focus. So I really enjoy the focus peaking feature to see what's in focus. All right, so let's scroll down a little bit. Again, blown away by Filmic Pro's white balance panel. It's in the imaging panel, and that's accessed by these three color circles down here in the bottom. So at the very top here, this is your straight white balance. And you have a white balance is basically the color temperature of your image. So, and it's based on pure white. So this top tab allows you to adjust the white balance and the color temperature. And you can use the old standard auto white balance. And this is like if you've been shooting with a regular camera and you know how to set white balance. You set a pure white card in front of your camera lens to determine, under that lighting situation, what is pure white, and then that balances it out. So it takes out any red or green, or if you're using very warm light, like lamps, incandescents, things like that, they get very warm, and auto white balance, if you put a pure white in front of your camera, even your smartphone lens, and tap auto white balance, it will, based on pure white on that card, correct that image before you shoot it. But what's really cool are these other options under here, which actually show you different lighting conditions that you can choose. You can see there's tungsten, there's incandescent, there's fluorescent, and then you also get this A and B, which is kind of like setting radio stations in your car. So A, you'd find a color setting that you like for one location, and you can tap that, and that saves that setting, and just like a radio station in your car. And B, the same thing. So you get two different lighting profile settings that you can lock and refer to. So that's really good. I just think it's so cool. Then if we look over here, you've got the tone. I mean, it just goes on and on. So that's the next button here down the side. And this is the tone of the video capture. And there's 4 presets and this tonal curve of the image. So the default is natural and is the native tonal curve for the device. So you can select dynamic flat or LOG. I don't really know what these do other than to say tap on them and say what looks better. The middle section adjusts the blacks, the lower section adjusts the shadows and highlights, and if you tap the button in the upper left, you can reset the selections with this round circle here. So that's pretty impressive. That white balance and tone is pretty cool. You can also see here that we've got just a straight up color, and that's the third button down here with the little drop. And if you pull that up, you get sub-panel. The sub-panel provides control over the color aspects of the image. So again, when we were talking about white balance, we're talking about color temperature, but there's also just the straight color. And you can kind of mess around and get these just the way you like them. So a lot of control with this app. It's just, it goes on and on. Then the settings menu is off the charts. You can choose from a bajillion resolutions, you know, all kinds of audio options for, you know, 44K, 48K. It's just a lot of stuff in here to poke through and check out. And then, of course, once you've shot your footage, in your Filmic Pro library, you can actually go in, you can add a filter to your clips if you'd like. After you've shot them, you can obviously add them to your camera roll. So if you want to use one of the other apps that uses the camera roll, accesses the camera roll to edit, you can send it there, and you can delete them, upload and share them. So some really fantastic stuff in Filmic Pro, and really it gets better and better, particularly with those, as I said, these guys, the live analytics as you're working. Okay, so let's take a look at our next one, which is I'm going to bring you over. Hang on. We're going to take a look. Now, this is one that's only for. Let's get there. All right, this is iMovie. Now, obviously, iMovie is only for iOS. The other ones we're going to show you, iMovie and Clips are both only iOS, but we have some other ones that are both iOS and Android. So, but as an overview with iMovie, you can see it's pretty easy to learn, and this is a really good beginning. Look at transitions, and if you're just doing straight cuts and editing pretty simple things, iMovie is a great choice. It's quick, and it does this a lot of automatic features that sort of do things for you, which you may like and you may not. But you get your audio ducking, speed change, speed ramp, and you can also connect a keyboard to your smart device, so either a tablet or a smartphone. And you have pre-built theme graphics and transitions. You can't customize those, and some of these ones we're going to go over in a minute, you can actually customize, and that's pretty awesome. And a recent feature with iMovie, the latest version, is that you can actually sort of maybe start working on your smart device, and you can transfer that project to the iMovie desktop app to kind of go in and work a little more deeply on that cut. So iMovie is great for that. We'll take a quick look at the interface for that, and just to remind you what's going on. So we have a visual. Here we go. So yeah, so here's the iMovie interface, and you can see that you get to do your cutaway images on the top, and those can have audio or not have audio, and then you have your main track down here. So here our skateboarder is speaking, and we have some B-roll shots up there. I just threw in some effects to just show you this is the maximum amount of tracks and the type of tracks you can have in iMovie. So we have you can have up to 3 sound effects, and of course this is VO, so your voiceover, and you can have music down here. So you can get quite a lot done in iMovie, and it's pretty flexible. So if we come back over to, let's check it out. Come back here. Let's scroll down and check out some other ones here. Now, I'm going to skip LumaFusion. We're going to lead up to that. I'm going to jump down to Clips, which is another iOS-only app. And this one is very basic. There's no timeline. There's no tracks. It's excellent for someone who's just starting out. And it's perfect for social media, particularly because it has a square aspect ratio. So it's a complete square. There's the features in this, which we'll look at in a second, are so awesome. I wish they'd make a 16:9 version because they're just great. You can create animated titles just using your voice. And the artistic video filters are great. I love the rights-free music tracks, which we'll take a look at. You get what's called selfie scenes, which are these augmented reality 360-degree backgrounds. And you can also use sticker overlays and animated posters. The posters are pretty cool. Sticker overlays, not my thing, but it might be yours. But if we actually take a look here at the Clips app, we can see some of the cool things it'll do. So I'm going to take you over there. All right, so here's the Clips app, and you get these filters. So the different thing, I'm going to just tap this. All right, so the different thing about, honestly, about Clips is that everything you do, so if we're going to add this clip to our, they don't even call it a timeline down here, but this is where you're building, down here is where you're building your video. Left to right, place left to right. But the only way you can add them is not by, with a lot of programs, you edit the image down into your timeline, but with Clips, you record something to your timeline. So this footage has already been shot, but I still have to record it down to my timeline. And while I'm doing that, for instance, so let's just say I'm putting this down, I can do something called live titles, which I can choose any of these along the bottom. I kind of like this centered one, particularly for social media. And you can see it just says speak while recording to add the text. And when they mean by recording is when you hit that, that red button to move it down to your timeline. So you can't add a live title to a clip that's already in this area down here. We're going to call it a timeline even though they don't. But you can't add it to a clip that's already in there. You'll see that actually if we scroll over, live titles is grayed out. So you have to add it when you actually add media to your timeline. So we'll just try one here. You can just see how it works. So you just tap the button and hold and speak. And using Siri technology, at least I'm working on an iPhone 7S right now. So let's try it out. This is a professional skateboarder. Well, that wasn't a very long clip. So let's go back and get a longer clip. Oh, I love live lectures. It's so in the moment. So while we're talking about it, if you click on a clip and it's coming from your iCloud, it might take a second to download it. It goes pretty quickly. I'm just going to get a longer one to show you this. Okay, come on. Must be a longer one. All right. So I'm going to try it now. All right. Here we go. I'm holding down the button. This is a professional skateboarder. Okay. So if we play that, that clip was added to our timeline. And if we play it back, all right. So that just basically took what I said, and if you tap on it, you can go in and you can edit it, and you can change punctuation. If Siri got it wrong, which happens a little bit, you can do that. You can also change some of the style here of the text if you want. You can go back and choose one of those other styles and change it if you don't like the one you chose. So that's a great feature. I love these effects, and you can see in a second, these filters are pretty amazing. This watercolor, I mean, these just look great. You can see as I go through, I really like comic. So if I choose that and we play that back, you can see that has kind of a cool look. But there's a bunch of them, and you just tap on a clip and go into effects and choose which one. They have sketches. Hang on. Well, these are your straight filters. Sorry about that. But if you come down here, so again, you have to add those filters as you record it, just like speaking the text. So if I have to come into my library, choose another clip, and go into effects, and I can see, let's do line drawing, and you can play it. You know, you can kind of scroll through, see what it's going to look like before you record it. But again, you record and embed those filters into there. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But that's not even the best thing about Apple Clips. My very favorite part of it, I'm going to turn off that live, the live thing's kind of bugging me. Live titles, none. Okay, and we'll come back to our effects, and let's just say original. One of the things I love actually the most about Clips is its impressive rights-free music options. I mean, just blows my mind. So the My Music option here, that would be choosing music from your iTunes library. And those aren't rights-free, and chances are if you're showing your video, you're going to want to have a rights-free track. These are amazing, and Apple really pulled out all the stops. Some of these composers, for instance, you can see, well, I guess it's down here under Playful. So we have Mark Mothersbaugh, if you see here, Energizing Jam, that's Mark Mothersbaugh. Mark Mothersbaugh did the music for just, you know, a little film like Thor Ragnarok and The Wolf of Wall Street. Mark Mothersbaugh did the music for Family Guy. So you're really getting professional quality music. and I love some of these. They're really great. See if we can hear one of them. Well, it's not going to let us, but so they're all in here, and that's not even the best part. What Clips does is, so say your sequence is 35 seconds long. It will apply your music, and it will edit it so that it actually ends at the 36-second point. So it will go in, run an algorithm, and say, hey, I've got 36 seconds, and it will edit it. So sometimes if you're editing and you find you have a piece of music you like, and you need to edit it, and that can take some time to kind of edit out a musical phrase and make it sound right, or particularly adding an ending to a song. So you just record a clip for as long as you want down, and it just makes it happen. So a lot of times what I'll actually do, because I like the music selection so much and they're rights free, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just record a still image onto, so if we get out of this, I'll record just a still image down here, and then I'll add and hold this record button for as long as I want my track to be. So if I know, say I'm working in Final Cut Pro, and I know that my video is 2 minutes 15 seconds long, I'll simply record a still frame down onto the timeline so it doesn't have any audio, and I'll hold it for 1 minute 56 seconds. Already edited from beginning to end. That's awesome, because you really, you don't have to mess with editing your music. So I'll actually use them in other editing systems. I like the music so much. So, okay, you've heard my love affair with Clips soundtracks. I honestly think it's the best collection of music, even over iMovie and some of these other ones we're going to talk about. So, but Clips, you know, I wish they'd do a 16:9, but for social media, you know, you really can't beat it. And so that's a real fun one to check out. So another one, let's just take a look. Actually, let's go back here and scroll back up. So we're kind of working up a little bit. So KineMaster Pro gets a little more advanced here, and it has, it's got more features, you can see, and this is more for someone intermediate or advanced. Now, KineMaster has a lot more tracks than iMovie has for you, and the difference is KineMaster, instead of just buying it for $4.99 or $9.99 or whatever it is, it's subscription based, which I'm not a real fan of. I feel like there's good and bad about subscription based, and you'll see in a minute when we look at the actual app. But so you pay a monthly fee to use KineMaster. It's kind of like Adobe Pro, a Creative Cloud, if you've used any of that, and it's a subscription. And you can use the subscription. You can cancel your subscription and rejoin, that type of thing. And the nice thing about subscription-based stuff is that they are always updating the extra things you can add. So extra titles, extra things like that. So unlimited text tracks, you get lots of tracks. So you get 2 video audio tracks, and then you get 4 audio only tracks. There's great color correction tools. Big one right down here, this video and audio keyframing. Now, to my knowledge, there's only 2 mobile editing apps that allow keyframing. And keyframing, if you've watched our editing lessons for any of any of the software programs, keyframing is what lets you control what things do. So some of those other ones where it's just you push a button and a title animates, that's great. But if you want to take control of that, your video or your audio, you'll want to keyframe. And the ability to keyframe gives you a lot. And then you've got your real-time audio mixing. If we take a quick look at KineMaster interface here, we'll just take a look. Okay, so there's the KineMaster interface, and you can see here I've got this Made with KineMaster watermark on there. And if you don't want that watermark, you've got to subscribe, and then have the little storefront down here, and you can click on that, and you access your media up here, just a lot like the other ones. It's just in different places. You can do voiceover, you've got your audio. It's kind of a nice feature. If you have everything down on your timeline, you can tap over here, and this takes away the library. So it's assuming you've already put everything you want into your timeline. And so this just gives you more space to move around up here. And you can see that it's backwards though. So backwards to every other editing system I've ever seen, which is that every other one, the top track takes dominance, and this one's reversed. So whatever's at the bottom is what you'll see first. So here's our interview soundbite, and here's our cutaways, but they're below it. In other editing programs, you'd see them up above. So it's just different, and you just kind of have to know that. So actually, when this plays, we'll see these below, and then he'll come on camera here. You can put a title. That's some voiceover and some music. So I like KineMaster Pro, but my very, very favorite, and the winner by a long shot, in my opinion, is LumaFusion. So again, this has a lot more features, and it's really good for someone who's a little bit more comfortable with some of the more intermediate and advanced features like keyframing, which this one has as well. 3 video audio tracks and 3 audio only tracks, unlimited keyframing for titles, effects, and audio, color correction tools. This is one I haven't seen on any of the others, and you can actually choose between an insert and an overwrite edit. And if you remember from our editing lessons, an insert edit puts your clip in your sequence and ripples all the other clips downstream. And overwrite, like the name indicates, goes over whatever's there, and you can actually switch between those 2 modes. And this is the only mobile editing app I've seen that allows you to do that. I mean, other systems allow you to drag and drop to overwrite and things like that, but this actually lets you choose a mode, which we'll take a look at the interface in a second. And then this real-time audio mixing, which is just great. So let's pull up old LumaFusion here and take a look. Okay, so this is LumaFusion, and it's pretty great. Here's where you can switch the different modes. You can switch, you've got overwrite there, and you've got insert there. Now, a nice thing they've done to deal with the small amount of space, so this is on an iPhone right now. I intentionally choose the smartphones instead of, you can use it on a tablet as well, but I want to show you kind of the worst case scenario in terms of real estate. So if you double tap on this window, it makes it bigger for you to just simply screen your clips. So, and then you pause and you just double tap to go back to the interface. So that's nice when you want to look at either your sequence or something that you've added. But I don't know, let's go through some of in the projects. You can do all kinds of things with your projects. You can make notes for your project. You can color code it here. Do all kinds of things, because chances are you'll have a lot of projects that will add up down in here. You can delete projects from there. You have your clip toolbox over here. Of course, a clip has to be selected for them to be active. You've got some presets. If you double click on a clip so you can clone, it's also, I think, I could be wrong, but I think it's the only editor that actually allows you to slip a clip, which is a pretty advanced feature here. Slipping means you keep your clip the same length, but you're just really changing the section of the clip that you're using in your sequence. You can link and unlink. You can duplicate a clip. You can detach audio. This is very cool. I haven't seen this in any of the other ones. This is, you can copy and paste any attributes. So if I make a color correction on this clip of this skateboarder, say I turn it black and white, I can then come to the clipboard, copy it, and then go to another clip and and paste it onto that clip. So you can copy and paste. That's really great because it saves you having to go through each one. So titles are, hang on, okay. So to get into the fit and fill and all the other options, you just double tap on a clip, and that opens a whole bunch of goodies, including keyframing right down here. So here's where you can add keyframes, this plus with these circles. So frame and fit, this allows you to zoom in, zoom out. You can even add a move with some of these options over here in the top right. You have these fit modes down here. You can choose fill. You can actually custom crop. You can move the size and position, but you can also just click on the, so you know, you can zoom in, zoom out, move them around, or you can use these tools down here. The next one over is the speed and reverse options. So you've got your reverse box here, and you adjust your speed here. If you want to maintain the audio pitch so people don't sound like Mickey Mouse, you would check this maintain audio pitch box. So you got your speed control, and here you have your audio mixing, and you can see it gets pretty fancy with some of the filters, because it even has some filters over here on the top right. And here's where you can save preset filters. You get your configuration for your audio here. You can change this from stereo, fill from left, fill from right. You can obviously adjust the volume. And if I do this slider up and down, you can see that line along the left go down or up. And also finally pan, you can pan left or right. But what's special about this really is that you can add a keyframe. So if I tap a keyframe here and go in a little bit and change, come up to our volume, raise the volume a little bit, hang on, bip, hang on, keyframe, add my keyframe, make an adjustment. I don't know why it's not doing that, hang on. Oh, I need to move in a little bit. So move in, add another one, and then raise it. And so there you can see over here that that's made our ramp just like in our other editors. So you really have full control. And then to delete a keyframe, you just tap on it, and then I believe you just tap on this X right here, and away it goes. So that's pretty great. I love that. Come over here, we get our colors and effects, of which there are many. In the top right here, I mean, there's just everything you can think of. And if I tap through them, you can see this is just pretty much some basic color filters. Then we have some other types of effects. As we go along, we can do vignette and a whole bunch under there that affect our picture. I'm going to undo, which is that arrow up there. And we keep going over more. This is blur. So we have some blur options, and we even have some sort of multiple options over here, and you can even control how big they are, how small they are, where the center is. I mean, it's completely controllable, which is just fantastic, and I can't believe it's on an iPhone. Can you tell I'm excited about this? So one of the new features is this keying here. So it looks like a keyhole, and actually you can do green screen with this, which is amazing. And we recently showed a special effect lesson to show you how to do that. But yeah, you can even green screen on it, and what happens is it sort of adds up these green dots here. It adds up the filters as you add them, and depending on how fast your phone is, you'll dip into the yellow or red, which says you're going to have trouble playing it back sooner than later. But you get to add quite a few different things. You can even add a custom one here using this star. So, I mean, for me, the hands-down winner to have the very most control is LumaFusion. But for some people, you know, you might not need that much oomph. You know, for some people, using iMovie might be plenty good if you're just doing straight cuts. But if you really want control and you're used to using sort of Premiere or Final Cut Pro or any of those full desktop applications, you might be happier with LumaFusion. But if you're just doing straight cuts, you can use iMovie and some of the other ones we've talked about. So, yeah. So that's our little tour through the mobile shooting and editing apps. I hope that was helpful. Again, if you want to learn some more about them, we do have full courses on each of them, including a brand new course with all the latest up-to-date changes that have been made to the Filmic Pro shooting app, and we're releasing that next week, so keep an eye out for that. Again, if you have any questions about anything we've talked about today that you haven't already asked Brett, please feel free to reach out to us at contact@thevj.com. And until then, good luck with your mobile shooting. It's come a long way. So like I said in the beginning, if there's an app you've tried in the past and you weren't too happy with it, it's worth going back and taking a look at it, because with the faster processors, they're adding stuff all the time. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.